You sexy individual. I appreciate you. I said it. You're sexy. Sue me. No, but I just want to make a quick video just saying thank you for referring someone to my newsletter. It helps me serve other people and focus on my mission with helping people monetize their social media and live a life of complete freedom. And as a reward to you, I want to give you a free masterclass that is part of my paid program with Kieran Drew, and it's on writing, content creation, branding, and just growing on social media. It is jam packed with a lot of value, stuff you're not going to see anywhere else aside inside my program, but it is yours for free just as a thank you. And as you refer more people to my newsletter, I'm going to give you cooler and cooler stuff. So masterclasses from Dan Coe, Justin Scott, JK Molina, other people, and other stuff I have not revealed yet. So the more you bring to me, the more I'm going to give to you just as a thank you. So appreciate you. I hope you enjoy it. This is jam packed with a lot of cool tips that you can apply today. So I hope you enjoy, and I will see you under your bed or somewhere else. I don't know. I'll see you later. But yes, welcome to another masterclass. We are lucky to have Mr. Kieran Drew on for the second time in this cohort. First one was absolute banger. I actually took a lot of tips from that one. I still apply the one tip you gave where it's like, what does this mean to me? I tell everyone about that. I credit you, of course. Yeah, welcome, Kieran. I'm really stoked to have you because, I mean, you're just killing it on all fronts with writing and Twitter and all that jazz. But you want to give a quick intro to who you are for those that are coming from Instagram that may not know you.
Yeah, sure. So name's Kieran. I have been writing online for 3 years. I used to be a dentist, which is kind of how I got into the gig because, as you can imagine, staring at mouths all day, absolutely horrible. And I kind of wanted to get into the creator economy side. Like Dakota was sort of saying, it's been a bit of a wild journey for the most part. Things have been going very slow, and then probably over the past 18 months, the business, the growth has all sort of taken off. And now I have a newsletter called Digital Freedom, where I write about strategies to help you build a business by writing online. And for the most part, I care a lot about helping people and living a good lifestyle while I do it. So that's me in a nutshell.
Hell yeah. And I mean, your brand is around writing, obviously. Why writing? Why do you think that is the key to living a
So,
life of freedom?
sorry if I freeze up a little bit there. I keep did you say something? I just got a little block.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. So your brand is around writing. Why do
Yeah.
you choose writing, and why do you think that's the key to living a life of freedom?
Yeah, sure. So the reason why I like writing is this ripple effect of impact, right? If you can help one person with your ideas, they can go on to help 10, and then they can go on to help 10 more. And it's really cool because when you combine that with digital leverage, it, there's not really kind of any limitations as to who you can reach when you're taking that approach. And um, before I kind of got into that side of writing, the main benefit was the fact that, the more you write about your ideas, the clearer you get. Um, a lot of thinking when you're doing the writing. And so it was kind of like an infinite game where even when people weren't reading, it was fun. And now that the world is watching, like it's even better, right? Because if you can attract an audience around your interests, you can build a business by serving them.
Yeah, 100%. And all compounds too. Um, and did you, I mean, you came from being a dentist to becoming a writer. Did you find at the beginning that you had imposter syndrome or trouble kind of adopting the mindset that you are a writer?
Hey, sorry, man. I don't know why it's
Oh, did I
freezing
freeze
up here.
again?
Yeah, I don't know if that's my end. Sorry. Hopefully it doesn't usually happen. So we'll carry on, and if it keeps happening, I'll jump out and join in. Yeah,
Okay.
imposter syndrome, and yeah, the start. Like honestly, the start was rough. I didn't expect it because as a dentist, I was doing pretty well. Cosmetic dentist, really confident with my sales, communication. When I became a writer, it was terrible. I was like, who the hell wants to listen to me? Who the hell would pay me? Right. So I used to make sales for like 5K as a dentist, no problem. I was terrified to even charge $50 to write for someone else because I was like, there is no chance in hell that someone would want me to do that. for them. And looking back, it was so stupid because the good part about the stuff that you guys are doing is that everyone sucks at writing. Like you only actually have to get 3 to 6 months ahead for you to begin to build a viable business. And for me, like the imposter syndrome, I quit dentistry without making any money, and because I figured, you know, if you burn the bridges, I don't recommend that approach, but like I was sitting around my finger at my ass. So I was like, okay, let's do this properly. And so I quit my job. I announced it to Twitter. I was like, watch out, world, I'm going to be the sickest copywriter. And 2 months later, I still hadn't found a client. And that was mainly because I was terrified of that fear of failure. And in a way, it ended up pretty good because I transitioned that into being a creator instead. But with the imposter syndrome stuff, that's only really faded a win at a time. And I think that's really important for people. Anytime I'm feeling like an imposter, it's usually a sign that I'm growing, which is good. But when I talk to my clients, I'm like, well, you're worrying about step 10 when you haven't done step one. And so yeah, it's part of the package, right? But a good indicator that you're on the right path too.
Yeah, it's like you're adopting that new identity. You know, you're doing something you haven't done before, and like you said, it's a sign that you're growing and doing becoming more of what you currently are.
Yeah, and it's also difficult because it's a very uncertain path. You know, when I was a dentist, well, whilst the exams were quite easy, sorry, hard, they weren't easy. The path was very easy. You know, you go to uni, you get a job after, you then get another job after that, and then you literally drill teeth and you get better. But the problem online is that, like, the best part and the worst part is the same. It's the amount of options you have, and that comes with a lot of doubt and fear because you're like, oh God, am I doing this wrong and this wrong? And um, the funny thing is, if you just like now, I have a very big bias for action because I know that 90% of the results or the ideas are going to come when you're on the battlefield, right? So every time I find myself fretting over little things, it's like get going, then get good.
100%, dude. And I mean, touching on action, taking action, what were the how did you start taking action early on? Were there books you read or mentorships you bought, or what provided that roadmap for you to getting good?
Um, a bit of a blend of everything. I'm a big consumer of content, so I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm always listening just to get little nuggets and stuff, and then courses as well. I like the whole self-paced course stuff. I never joined a cohort, which actually I think was a big mistake early on. It took me 12 months to get 1,000 followers. That shit should have been sorted much, much earlier by joining a community. But then I did join Dan Coe's group coaching one, and that was pretty good. It was nice. The thing I liked about Dan's one is that Dan was the sort of person where he would believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And that's one really powerful thing with mentorship. Because I would be like, oh God, I'm not sure if that'll work. And he'd be like, it works. And okay, cool. I'll go do it. Otherwise, in terms of like the roadmap, it's quite funny because people, when I come on these calls now, they're like, let's talk about how stuff has gone well, but it's just littered with stuff that hasn't worked, right? So I said I've been pivoting more than a ballerina over the past 2 years. Like I've done ghostwriting, copywriting for some clients, coaching, consulting, group coaching, the newsletter, two digital products. Like I've just been firing on all cylinders and then taking what I enjoyed from each for the next iteration. And so in terms of like a clear roadmap, I still don't really have one. I'm just following the energy.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Like that's a big thing I say. Especially early on, you just gotta throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks. And then you start like wide, and then you're like, oh, I don't like doing that. I don't like doing that. Oh, I kind
Yeah.
of like this a bit more. And then you funnel down.
Yeah. I
Um,
think it's important, like what you said there. It's I don't like doing that. That's a really big one because there's a lot of stuff online that you think you have to do. And actually, there's just so like if you just keep following your energy and having setting constraints as you build, it's a really cool way to slowly end up on the right path. So, a big thing for me was I detest selling my time. Like, I don't know what it is, but like if I even have one call at 5 p.m., like my day is just, I'm like, oh, fuck's sake, man. And that's crazy because I used to see 30 patients a day. But I don't know what happened. And so, anyway, one of my constraints very early was like, look, can I build an entire business with 2 to 3 meetings a month? And at first it was ridiculous because I was starting to say no. I didn't do any high ticket coaching, any of that stuff. And now I'm here and it's like, oh yeah, cool, you can do that. It's just when you decide what you're not going to do, you have the energy to actually make it happen, the opportunity cost side. So um I guess the point there is that believing that you do have a choice very early on about what you do want to do and what you don't want to do. Like that includes working with like bad clients and stuff. One no is like 100 yeses.
Yeah, dude. That's something it it gets bigger and bigger, as you go farther along, because like as you grow, you get more opportunities, and the opportunities get more lucrative. But if you just stay the path on that one thing, that's where like the big payoff is. But then you got all these distractions. Like Hormozy
Yeah.
says, it's the woman in the red dress, which is so damn true. Or the man in
Yes.
the black suit, whatever your preference.
I like the man in the black suit.
Yeah. The Chad in the black suit.
Yeah.
Um, and when it comes to writing, what do you think it's like the 80-20 of writing, writing well? What were the things you focused on, the few things that you focused on that yielded the biggest results for you?
um, I guess there's a few things. There's loads of like directions we could take that. The the main driver behind my business is probably storytelling. And what I mean by that, not so much, sharing stories like emails and threads, but every day I treat my Twitter like a story, right? And I'm bringing my audience along for the ride. And the reason why I stumbled across that was because I wrote for an entire year without sharing my story originally, and 'cause I thought no one wanted to hear about me. I was like, what a stupid thing. Who wants to hear about Kieran Drew? And then I had a story thread posted in my Notion. Didn't post it for 3 months. Anyway, I posted it, double the amount of followers overnight, about 300 DMs, and I was like, "Holy shit, man! People really like stories." And the best stories happen in real time. And so a really big part behind my writing is just what am I up to? What am I learning? What am I doing? And then how can I present that in a way that helps Kieran Drew from yesterday, right? So anything I learned today is content for tomorrow. And it's a really cool, like, infinite game where you're not there trying to write to an audience, right? You're just serving your shadow, but you're doing it in a way where it's like a snowball effect, right? You get a little win, you write about the win, people take notice, you get more wins. And that's been a really cool way in terms of how I've built my brand. Um, In terms of the actual quality of writing, so a couple of things that I very, very, very firm believer in. Number one, big sprint on copywriting. Copywriting is one of the coolest skills in the world because it combines psychology with writing, right? And it's simply the like art of getting the click, right? Being able to influence people with words. Considering that the whole of the internet is based on writing, including video, anything you want to do, audio, if you learn how to copyright, you can learn how to do a lot of stuff. And even when I'm talking now, a lot of the ideas that I tell you is stuff that I've been writing about, and that's why it comes across quite concise. And so I always tell people is that look, 3 to 6 months, 3 to 5 copyright books, and then just start writing a lot of copy. Doesn't matter if you don't have clients, write it for yourself, write it for products that you use, that sort of stuff. But copywriting is one of these skills where, at first you think you've got it and then you realize just how fucking tough it is, right? And then you're like, oh wow. And then you think you've got it, and it's like Dunning-Kruger effect, right? So I thought I got it, and then I'm like, Jesus, I know nothing. But copywriting feels a bit like a cheat code. Because I know right now I could send an email and not in an arrogant way, I could probably make thousands of dollars for anything just because I can tell a nice story and pitch well. So I'm yet to meet a creator who has taken that advice and isn't doing well now. Um, yeah, those are useful anyway. Any direction you want to go with that?
Yeah, I mean, if you could recommend one book on storytelling and one book on copywriting, which ones would you recommend?
Yeah, okay. Like I won't give you the obvious. So for copywriting, there's a sorry if I froze up again.
A little bit.
Two
That's
ticks.
fine. I can still see
Oh,
your
cool.
beautiful face.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just you that freezes up for me. So that's right. I'll just keep yapping on. Copy. There's a book called 10. Commandments of A-list Copywriters by this guy called John Bajakovic. Right, it's fucking brilliant. Just goes through basically everything you need for copy. For storytelling, I mean, look, if you haven't read his Story Brand is the obvious one because then you understand the hero's journey. There's a book called Writing for Emotional Impact, which is a screenplay writing book. And, I actually heard this from a A-list copywriter who was like, look, if you want to learn how to write, go learn screenwriting because screenwriting is the most brutal writing industry in the world. So writing for emotional impact will teach you how to write with emotional impact, which is all we need to do as writers, right? You need to make your audience feel something. So those are two books. Another site for storytelling is tinylittle.businesses.com. So this is a guy called Andre Chaperone, and he coined the soap opera sequence, right? Which is basically how you sell with email stories. I study his stuff every single day, or not, maybe not so much anymore, but I used to. So yeah, I could write the names down for you in a bit.
It's based. I'm looking at the that book and that website right now. It's cool. I'm gonna buy these. Thank you. This masterclass is for me. Fuck all you guys. This is just kidding. And what's interesting is when I look at your account, you immediately stand out because when I look at it, it's like, oh, there's a person behind this account. But if I was to go to 97% of other accounts, it's just regurgitating the same shit and it's just copy
Yeah.
paste fortune cookie tweets. How do you come up with so much content on yourself? Because I feel, especially me early on, it's like, how do I even, like, I only got so many stories. Like, how do you constantly come up with these personal takes and stories?
I think the first important point is that storytelling is like a muscle. And you don't expect to go to the gym and deadlift 500 pounds on day one. So when I first posted that story thread, I wasn't a great storyteller. And so what I'm a big fan of forcing functions, right? And so for any skill output, yeah, it's output and learning. And so I said, look, I'm going to post a tweet a day that shares something about myself. That was actually really hard, but because there was then a target to aim for, I was like, well, shit, now I need to learn how to go do that. There are two ways I come up with my personality or story-based content, and it's kind of going forward or backwards, right? So what I mean with going forward is that it's about noticing what happens to you during your day. And it's like opening a third eye, right? Because if you set yourself a target to share something every day, you're like, well, no, I have to go notice it. And so this one's from Storyworthy, where you write down a story a day. I kind of do that, but basically I am a relentless note taker. So if anything comes up, you can get the most interesting insights from just ordinary observations if you start thinking about it. So a really good guy for this is George Mack on Twitter. Like, he can turn a random concept into something really useful. And you start to build this awareness. And what kind of happened with me when I was doing that was when I realized that the stories, they would not go as viral as my platitudes, right? But not everything that counts can be counted. The relationship that was building by sharing little nuggets of myself, like, now I literally I don't worry about competition in the slightest from anyone, because I know that with my fans, like, I'm tight because stories, relationships at scale. So bit of a forcing function there. Set yourself a goal, start writing down things that you notice. But the entire point of stories isn't what happened; it's the lesson. Okay. And so it's like a two-pronged approach there. If stuff is happening to you, you could go, cool, what can I share from this today? For example, let's talk about my day today, right? I usually do 3 hours of deep work in the morning, 90 minutes, 90 minutes. Okay. Go to the gym, have lunch, and then I lose all my energy and I have a terrible afternoon of work. Today, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do 90 minutes of deep work after the gym. And it was brilliant. And I'm like, holy shit, why didn't I have done this a year ago? Right. So it's a brilliant story tweet. Like, it's just like, look, get your work out of the way. Write fasted. And then when you're done, you're done. Rest of your day, you can relax. Right. So, stuff like that, it just comes second nature. But I would be taking notice of that every day. It's like, oh, decision, got a result. The other side of things, There are certain messages that resonate with you, like your platitudes and stuff, and there's a reason for that. And so you can take your favorite ideas and work backwards and go, well, what's happened in my life to reflect that? And this, the way I done this was starting something called a resonation folder. Well, I just save everything I like, highlights. So Readwise is really good for this, the app. If you just save all your highlights from the internet or your Kindle, I could just look at every single quote I've highlighted and just go, what does that mean to me? And boom, you just like, for example, you can't read my content for a week without me talking about persistence. And I would talk about writing, business, recovery of my neck, being 50 pounds overweight, anything. And you can just start attacking it from loads of different angles. The reason why that's cool is because you generally will have 5 to 10 messages that you really enjoy. And that's how you begin to build a brand, right? Because it's repetition builds resonance. You find the messages that mean the most to you, and then you look at your life and say why. And the really cool bit is about that, writing is a cool forcing function for this stuff, because the more you write about these ideas, the more you kind of have to live them out, right? So, I'm a big fan of core values. One of my values is freedom. The amount of times I've had to turn down business opportunities because I'm like, Jesus, man, I can't tweet on Twitter about how I've got 20 hours of meetings a month or something. So that's my like where I come up with stories in a nutshell. Get a bit into it.
That was great. Yeah, I think that's my favorite tip I've heard from you ever since you first said it. Like, what does this mean to me? So I constantly use that now. I tell, yeah, like I said, tell other people. So you
Cool.
can turn like anything into content. You see someone
Yeah.
else's post talking about their 5 habits of the day, and then you take it, oh, what are my 5 habits of the day?
Yeah.
Or like, what
Yeah.
do I even do habits? Maybe I don't need them and all that shit. I still get shit done. So
Yeah.
it's super
And the really
powerful.
cool bit about it, man, is everyone wants to be more self-aware, right? And you could be self-aware by like doing all these habits and stuff, but the art of noticing, that's all self-awareness is. And when content is just, it forces you to do it, right? Because the more self-aware you are, the more aware of what's going on, the better the audience building goes. Um, so yeah, writing is like, as cliche as it sounds, writing online has changed my life.
Straight up, dude. And shit posts.
Yeah,
Those
of
help too.
course.
Um, so stories have definitely played a part in why you get such good engagement. Is there any is there anything else apart from stories that you think really have contributed to why you have grown so much and why you consistently get such good engagement on social media?
um, Yeah, so I mean, obviously the relationship is a big part, because people will engage with your stuff the more they like you. Uh, the other side is uh, uh, uh very prolific. I've never been the most talented person, but I'm like I think it's Tom Billy that says you can be a very fast pig, right? That's what I am, right? Where like I'll just keep going and going and going, and writing is actually a skill that rewards that sort of behavior, because persistence, like, it won't get you to the top, but it'll get you pretty close. As an example, like Dakota, you're a fucking wizard at like understanding the game, and I was so far behind you, right? And I'm just trudging along, and like I don't know where we are now, but it's getting a bit closer, right? So I basically have very rarely missed not posting 2 threads a week. And you could come up with loads of tactics and stuff, but end of the day, if you write 100 threads in a year, I guarantee 80 will suck. Most of your writing will suck, but by the end you won't, because you then have to, you're like, well, look, if I'm going to do this, I might as well do it properly. And what is properly? Well, there's kind of two prongs of that. You need to learn how to write in a way that people like. So chances are your ideas don't suck. It's just your packaging. That was me, right? I wrote for 6 months and I was getting like a week. And, it wasn't hopefully because my ideas, I just had to present them. Right. And so like, that's where the copywriting comes in. I always say you need to be clear, you need to be curious, and you need to be concise. Right? You can nail those three things. They're the big needle movers of writing. So for clarity, what do we mean by that? It's clear what you mean, clear on who it's for. And so I do this all the time, line by line in my newsletter. I say, what the hell do I mean? And then the answer is what I actually write. All right. So that's kind of how we handle it. Clarity, conciseness. The reason why conciseness is so important is because you're in a competition for attention, but you're not competing against other creators. You're competing against like companies that have billions of dollars invested into pulling people away, right? TikTok, all that stuff. Long story short, you can't waffle. You can't afford to. And so I, for editing, which is, by the way, this is where all this happens, I'll set a rule where I'll delete a third of my content. And that makes it very concise, right? If I write 1,000 words, it has to be 750. If I write 15 tweets in a thread, it has to be 10. And I think people really respond well to that. And then curiosity, well, and Dakota could probably attest for this. Most of curiosity is about using big and bold language. Like you can't have, there's no room for a weak message in a crowded market, right? And so when I look at my content, I always ask myself, like, did I crank the dial? Have I got am I chilling at a 5 or am I at an 8? Right? Because I could say something like, screw your boss. All right, like, 9 to 5s are stupid. And obviously I don't mean 9 to 5s are stupid. There are brilliant 9 to 5s out there. But there's no room for nuance if you want engagement. So if you're clear, concise, curious, commit to output. And the output one is the big one. I also work in 90-day sprints for the output side. I do this for everything actually now for business because it gives you a lot more motivation. So, if you're trying to find clients, end of this 90-day, I'm going to do this one thing. And that focus has helped me immensely with getting big wins. So, I've done it for content. I done it for my recent product launch, which, if you didn't know, was about 150K in 4 days. I set 90-day goals. I give it my all. I get to the end. I rest and reassess, and that's a tactic I swear by if you want momentum.
Yeah, dude. Just having that, it's like a roadmap, right? It's if you're just wandering around, sure, you might get to your destination, but if you have a clear
Yeah,
set point and all these checkpoints along the way, I mean, you're just going to get there way faster.
yeah.
Um, and
You
stay
just want to
tuned for next
know.
week. I got Leon Castillo coming on, performance coach. That's fire. But sorry, go on.
I was gonna say you just need to know what you're optimizing for, right? Especially online, shiny object syndrome is the biggest bitch of them all. But what happens online is that momentum creates momentum, and you don't get momentum by trying to do 10 things at once, right? You try to achieve everything, you achieve nothing. A classic, or not classic, an example from my recent stuff was I was trying to release my second product, but I was also posting 3 threads a week and I had 5 calls a week. And I was like, oh, my product isn't getting built. 90-day goal, as I had to get rid of everything. I stopped writing content. I stopped taking calls. Revenue dropped by like 80%. 2 months later, product built. I make more money in 5 days than I did in my entire year. Because of that product, I've now been on 10 podcasts from some of my favorite ones, right? And so what happens now is the speed, like it's like a snowball, right? And so yeah, focus is a really big thing, and it's quite hard online because it's on you to decide that direction. And the 90-day goal, I don't know, it's like a miracle drug for me. If I have an idea that I'm like, oh my god, I have to do this thing, I put it in an idea document, and at the end of the 90-day goal, you kind of find out if it was important or not. Because if you're not thinking about it anymore, it wasn't that important. You've saved loads of time. And if it was important, you know what your next 90 days are.
Yeah, facts, dude. I mean, it's just, I don't know. You have that North Star, man. And it guides the way,
Yeah.
100%. Um, well, I'm going to open up to questions because I know we're like 30 minutes in. I want to leave half of this for you guys to ask questions. So, you have a question about creator economy, storytelling, writing, OnlyFans, you can fire that in the chat or you can just hit us up talking.
Yo, I got a question.
Hello,
What was your biggest oh shit moment during your growth that like made you doubt yourself, made you want to quit, made you want to like
sorry, I just frozen up a little bit. I lost you at oh shit.
Oh, okay. What was your biggest oh shit moment during your career where you were like starting to doubt yourself, thinking you're gonna fail, you wanted to quit? Did it ever happen to you? And if it happened, like why, what, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, it's a good question actually. I don't think there was like a massive. I mean, the biggest oh shit was quitting the job, right? That was when I was like, my God, what have you done? Because that was, security of paycheck was lovely. Uh, but I will tell you this, man. I used to have these. I used to call them writing wobbles when I started, right? And the problem is, the monkey mind is not designed to suck for this long and not to not have results. And so, I used to have this like going like waves of depression before I knew it would work. And that was the problem. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And I was writing for months and months. And, bless her, my girlfriend, she pulled me through that stuff because she was like, just keep going. And one thing I said to her was like, don't let me quit for 2 years. Um, Aside from that, the most recent oh shit was my second product because I was like, I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I was like, hopefully this is going to go pretty well. And I sent the email, and I only made like 4 or 5 sales in 2 3 hours, which if you have 150,000 people audience, that's a fail. And I was meant to be at the pub enjoying a drink with my girlfriend, celebrating, watching the internet money roll in, and I was like, oh shit, I fucked this up big time. But thankfully, by the end, it sort of built up. So
Nice, man. Yeah, that must have been scary. Fuck. How long were you making that product?
yeah, I mean, I actually done a beta coaching September, which is a 3 month coaching thing as a preliminary for the product. So that was a lot of work. And then building the product probably took me, I'd say maybe 12 weeks, but I was doing 10, 12 hours a day every day, apart from Sundays. And the reason why it took so long was because, for the sales page took me maybe 150 hours to write because I'm not a copywriter, but I knew that copy was really important. So I read 5 books. I wrote, rewrote. For the actual course itself, I wrote the course 5 times because every time I wrote it, I was like, this is still too waffly. And in the end, I had to write it all out by hand because I just wanted I wanted every single lesson. I wanted someone to go, oh shit. And like, it's called engineering the aha moment. The reason why I did this, mate, was because product number one, I built it and it's okay. But 3 months in, I didn't want to sell it anymore. And so I figured with this product, I was like, look, I need to make this fucking banging so I can get 2 to 3 years out of it before I need to redo it.
Got it. I have one more question. Sorry for everyone, but
All good. Oh, God.
why did you say you're not a copywriter?
I've only written 2 sales pages.
Hmm.
I'm not a copywriter, man. Yeah. Like, I'm not an experienced copywriter at all. Um, what I am is like an amalgamation of failures all wrapped up into a content creator, and I'm very grateful for it. I'd maybe back myself to write pretty good copy now, actually. I've been talking to some copywriters, and yeah, that's okay. But I'll never say I am a copywriter because I've only written for myself. A real copywriter can write 50 sales pages in different topics. I wouldn't know where to start.
Got it. Thanks for answering, bro. Super grateful. Love your content, man, and
Nice to meet you, mate.
have a good one, bro. Nice to meet you, man.
Thomas says, when link for your OnlyFans? But he also follows up, what would you do differently when getting your first client or building your first course again?
Well, the link, we'll have to wait for that, man. I don't think you can afford it. But what would we do differently for getting your first clients? So I think my main problem was a lack of specificity in what I do. I feel like if you want to find a client, you need to know precisely who that client is and what you're going to do for them. And it becomes a lot easier. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be a copywriter for people. What I would do in hindsight, if I wanted to go down the service work, I would go and I would pick something like email courses for coaches that sell high ticket, right? Because then when I begin to pitch that to people, they're like, oh shit, that's for me. And what I would do, I have no problem starting small. So my first coaching client, it was 10 hours for $500, right? $50 an hour. I go do the same for a client. I wouldn't do it for free, but I'd be like, look, man, pay me $200. I'll bang you up a sick course and I would use that win to then start to get more wins. So it's that level of specificity that's really important. And then the other thing that I fucked up on was just sheer output. I was sending like 10 DMs a day. That should have been about 50. And I would have looked in places people weren't looking a bit more. I think the problem on Twitter right now, which you guys probably experience more than me, everyone wants to be the ghostwriter for founders, right? I have a client who makes about 30K a month working with CFOs only. And it's that sort of stuff where like the riches are in the niches. I think just getting very clear on who I'm serving and trying to make it a bit unique.
Bang, bang.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's really good advice. I definitely went for the really niched down start. Like instead of other people that start kind of broad and then move down to that, I chose to go like right for high ticket offers.
Great. Yeah. Was it? Yeah. Like the good thing with high ticket is like don't sell to people that don't have money. And I wasted a lot of time like trying to find people that I could coach that were in a similar place to me. And it's like, actually, that's not smart. You need to go learn a skill, then take it to people that are too busy to learn that skill. Like, for example, writing.
Yeah, for sure. And then you can get on those calls with people, right, who are going to teach you all these things that otherwise you'd never have access to.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So it's kind of skills set you apart is a really big one for me. If you're confident in what you can do, it's crazy the amount of doors it will open.
For sure, man. Thanks a lot.
No worries, mate. Cheers.
Jackass, do you have Jackass? Jack asked, do you have multiple 90-day goals at once?
I don't. That's the nature of the 90-day goal. But the difficulty with being a creator is that you do have multiple plates to spin. And so one thing that I do is that when I hit my 90-day goal, I ask myself if I need to systemize it a bit better before I start taking on another one. For example, release a product, which, came out a couple months ago. I need an email course that's selling it for me. I need an optimized pitching. I need to know my numbers and conversions. So these sort of things are what I've been doing over the past couple months, writing the course, getting ready for the next launch. I might, because I know that doesn't take that long, I'm doing that with the 90-day goals. So like, I'm not doing just one thing all day, every day, because, there's certain stuff like content that I just can't stop. But the whole point in the decision-making framework is that you have a clear A/B choice when you have to make a choice. And so I can look at right now, my 90-day goal is I'm writing a long form essay, which is like a 10,000 word essay. And I can shape my week to make sure I'm doing that. And then everything else happens in the afternoons, like this call, when I've got all my leverage work out of the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Focus. Bears, I know you got a question. Good sir.
Yeah, basically, I'm not sure if you got answered because it was also about goals, but I just wanted to ask you, Kieran, if you could like walk me through your goal setting process overall. Like how do you articulate the goals in terms of like, you could be like, like one goal could be like.
Sorry, Barris, mate, I lost you at process. Can you say that bit again?
Yeah, no,
sorry about this.
I'm not sure if I got answered before, like 100%, but like I wanted to ask you if you could like walk me through your like goal setting process. Like in terms of like, is it end goal focused in terms of like, I'm going to have a course by the end of the 3 months, or is it like process focused? Like in terms of like, I'm going to do this for every day until I reach that goal. Like, how do you?
Yeah, both, right? You're building a system. That's a goal is just a system you're setting in advance, right? So for a system to work, you need to know what we want for it to work. And so I'll say like, okay, I want X. And let's say, for example, my next business goal is to cross 7 figures, right? That's a nice goal in itself, completely not useless. In fact, it'll probably make me more miserable because now I'm chasing a number. So I don't do that. I just keep that back of my mind. But because I have that goal, I can ask, what are the inputs that will help me cross 7 figures? That's more like it. Now I know I can look at reach, relationships, and revenue and go, right, I could add more reach, social media, etc. I could build more products, which is what I'm doing. Or I could build more trust, which is also what I'm doing. And so then I'll break it down like that and say, so my target is end of 24, cross 7 figures, which is, I don't know, 600K maybe. I don't know if I'm going to hit that. It's absolutely fucking crazy to even say that on a call compared to where I was last year. But now I know it's like, okay, if I build a product every 2 to 3 months and I set up a monthly payment product and I turn my newsletter into 2 emails a week, that should be it, right? And now it's reps. And that's what I focus on, the output, not the outcome.
Yeah, sweet, man. Yeah, thank you very much.
No worries, mate. Good luck.
Alina, you're next up. What's up?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
I actually haven't followed you before. I haven't heard about your page before. So, you. What interested me is that you said that you were into storytelling and you were telling stories. So I was wondering, when you first got your client, or before you got your client, how were you able, like, to convince your clients that you're competent to copyright for them? Like, were you talking, like, was your initial content about copywriting, or was it just like stories?
My content, when I write my content, basically I make sure that I'm giving out a piece of actionable advice per day. And that's really important. So I can't, if you just tell stories, you're a celebrity, right? Like, you're gossip. If you need to give actionable advice too. So I was doing that too, where I was sharing ideas on copywriting, which would help content being my credential. What the person that actually paid me, I started helping him for free. And he was like, look, man, I'm going to give you some money. And so that's another way to do it, where it's just like, I knew that I could help someone, but I think he was like, I need to pay you for this. So the content has to be high authority. The problem with that is people go, well, who am I to like write about copywriting when I'm not a copywriter? That's why I was just serving my shadow. I was teaching Kieran from the day before. And that's how I built up the authority to pitch. So.
And like, was your niche writing, or was your niche like things that were happening in your life, or something else that you were interested in?
My niche is writing. Yeah, my niche, because I just, writing is the thing that fascinates me the most. But I would write about kind of my life as well a little bit. And the reason why I did that was because people want to buy it from people, right? And even now, when for example, I went to buy a website this month, I had a choice between 5 designers. The guy I picked was the one that was talking about what he's up to, not his websites. I was like, oh, cool, this guy likes building apps. I was like, that sounds pretty cool. So but also obviously I looked at his authority stuff. So it's like a bit of a blend. I do feel like you could just go all in on writing authority content, and that might be a smart short-term move, but long-term, like, the personal brand is like, I don't know what it is. It's like miracle growth for your business. So
Like
And
meth.
what was your authority content?
my authority content was, yeah, copywriting stuff, writing stuff, storytelling, basically anything that would focuses on communication. So, I'd be like, how to share stories in emails, or 5 tips for storytelling, or I would go read a book on copywriting, and then I would just turn everything I liked into content. And so in terms of what my authority content is, it's actionable advice. So that's tips, tricks, hacks, mistakes, listicles. It could be 1 tip, it could be 4 tips, 5 tips, whatever. And then the threads. So I call it like the proof persuasion ratio. You could start off writing about other people's stuff. That builds authority by association. So me and Dakota have written the same shit, right? We've got the Stephen King threads out there, all that stuff. And that's just to show that we know a little bit about writing. Then as soon as I started getting results, I started writing about my results. It's like, hey, I hit 1,000 followers on Twitter. Here are the 10 mistakes I made. Why it took me a month, a year. And it was like, hey, I just made my first $1,000. Here's what I did. And so writing about your results is a little bit more proof, or a lot more proof than writing about Stephen King's results. But the thing that then, maybe not at your situation now, as soon as you get a client result, you shout about it to the rafters, right? Because social proof is persuasion gold dust. And so that's why I like the idea of starting for free. I tell people, I still do it a little bit now. It's like something goes well for a friend. I'm like, send me the message that's not calling me an idiot or anything, and tell me how good that is so I can screenshot it and turn it into an email. So different levels of proof for each.
Bang, bang. Love it. Jack Cole says, do you have a process for writing storytelling threads?
Do I have a process? Not really. I think there's a couple fundamentals that I try to follow. The first thing I want to answer when I start my stories is what's in it for me. Sometimes when I see people tell stories, they jump right into the story, but they haven't really established why I should care. I mean, that's a big no-no online because people are very busy and you want to write like it. So for example, if I wanted to tell a story about what did I just do? I wrote one about recovering from surgery. I wouldn't go 12 years ago, I had this and it was really scary, and then I broke my neck, and the opening line is, one of the most important life lessons I've ever learned was 13 years ago when I broke my neck. And now people are looking for the life lesson, right? So this is the art of opening hooks, opening loops. And so I always try to open loops early, then begin in the action. All right. So quite often, and I do this without fail with my newsletter, I'll write my entire newsletter. I delete the intro, and it never fails to get better. Right. So we have this, like, I call it throat clearing when we write, and you get in there and it's like, fuck that. You jump in the action. So like I said, I broke my neck. Right. I'm not tiptoeing around going, oh, like I was 16 and I was a chubby teenager. It's like I broke my neck and like it was crazy. And once you've done that, you've established this emotional reaction, you can actually pull back a little bit and you begin to set the scene. So I'll be like, oh, I broke my neck. And, I was 16. And at the time, what I cared about was talking to girls and like going to uni. And people are hooked because they're like, man, this guy's got broken. Talk about that. And this is how you build tension, right? So tension's a brilliant storytelling tool. And then the best storytelling tip I can give you, honestly, or writing tip in general, if you want to hook and hold attention, is from South Park. But and therefore, every single point you make, think but and therefore, and I guarantee your content just has this flow to it. So the problem is most people are like, this happened and then this happened and then this happened. Very boring, logical. People don't like that. Instead, if you take these story beats, right? And I don't really like to plan out too much. I just start writing. Every time I say something, I go, if I put the word but here, what would come out? So, I could say something like, I don't know, I just hopped on a call with Dakota, and it was really, really fun. Right. Okay, tweet. If I just said, and then I went and done this, it gets boring, right? If I said, but, it's like, well, what could I say happened? It's like, but my internet kept cutting out and it was really annoying. And suddenly it starts being like, okay. And then the other side of it is therefore, that means so. Something happened, so this. And you can keep doing that over and over. Like if you read some of my stories, it literally just goes, thing happened, but therefore, thing happened, but therefore, end of story. And people go all the way down. And then the final bit, like we said before, it's all about the last line, right? It's all about the lesson, because there's a psychological bias called the peak end rule, where basically we remember the end of something and the peak emotion during it. And so if you finish a story without a lesson, complete waste of time. They're not going to like you. I call these sexy sentences because I don't get out enough, but these banging lines that, for example, Naval Ravikant is so good at. It's just juxtaposition, which is the art of holding two ideas next to each other. Very powerful for writing. That's why if Dakota says something like, you don't need books, you need action. We go viral. It's because you're juxtaposing two things. Alliteration, because that just, we don't see what we read, we hear it, and rhythm and rhyme. All right. So that's how you write sexy sentences. So that's my story stuff. But I don't like to do it in threads so much anymore. I really like the long form tweet for that. So again, storytelling 101.
Mini masterclass in itself. Banger. Love it. Cool. Let's bang out the rest of these. So Mahesh, what's up, brother? I see you got a question there.
Hi, Kieran. So every tweet, every thread you put out there certainly would have an objective other than the filler ones, but then it would have an objective. If it doesn't meet that particular objective of followers or likes or engagement or an inbound lead, anything of that sort, how do you approach that once again?
Sorry, my man, I just lost you. Objective.
Yeah, so every tweet and every thread you put out there has a certain objective which you want to be met. So either you want followers or likes or engagement or inbound leads, or you're looking for that particular client. If it doesn't meet that requirement, let it gather likes, it doesn't matter, but you want the lead. So how do you actually approach it once again? I hear a lot of people saying, check your analytics, see what works, what doesn't work, but I want to make this work. So how do you approach it once again? Do you have a strategy for the ones which didn't work?
So what I used to do, I used to like to analyze my content and think, why didn't that hit home? And generally it's either clarity, curiosity, or conciseness. But I'll be honest with you, man, like, it might sound a little bit cliche, but I have 3 rules for my content, and I still have the same thing. Did I learn something new today? Did I create something new today? Did I help one person win? And the reason why I do that, mate, is because if I'm looking at my content through the lens of win or lose, most of the time I lose, very unhappy. The creators having the most fun wins, right? So I try not to analyze the negative results so much and have faith in the process. It's probably not the best answer for you if you're someone that likes to dive into the weeds of things to understand why it's not working. The best thing for you, mate, or the thing that helped me improve the most for that sort of stuff, is not for you to do the analysis, it's for someone else. And so I have a friend read my newsletter, and 9 times out of 10, he points out 3 to 4 things that are wrong. And that's because you're very close to your own writing. And so I recommend everybody try get a writing buddy around the same level, because writing is about perspective, and it's very hard to have a broad perspective when it's your ideas. So that's probably the way that I would try to improve the most.
Sure. I mean, the reason why I asked this was sometimes you just repost the same thing and it works on one particular day and one day it doesn't work. Or it also depends on which part of the pond you're actually fishing. You see the same tweet, one guy tweets it, it actually blows up, the other guy tweets it, maybe he doesn't have the right audience for that particular shit post or for that particular value post.
And yeah, I mean, like I said, man, I think this stuff is useful for a little while, but there's a big diminishing return on studying analytics, and the content side should be less important than the business side. And I felt like it was taking away getting into it that much. The thing is, when, like, for example, I remember when I was a young whippersnapper, I wrote a thread on Stephen King and I got like 500 likes. Then Dakota wrote one 3 weeks later and he got like 4,000. And it was so stupid because I felt like a failure. And when I started to realize, I was like, well, now I'm not thinking clearly. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care what anyone is up to anymore. And it's just me versus me out there. So I try not to look at other people's stuff either. Like, it either works or it doesn't. I'm here to play for 10 years anyway.
Sure. Thanks.
No worries, mate.
All right, bang, bang. Gage has a question that says, what would Kieran say high level would be the most effective ROI on time for a 9-to-5er under 500 followers who would want to curate the most effective 90-day sprint possible?
I can't tell you that without understanding what your needs are and what you're optimizing for. Long story short, there are 3 things that you can do online: reach, revenue, and relationships. If you're 9 to 5, if you enjoy it and you're getting paid enough money, use that as an advantage to begin to build authority instead through content. That's what I did, right? If you hate your 9 to 5, the thing that will improve your content the most is getting out of it. Therefore, your 90-day sprint should be all in on revenue, building an offer, putting it in front of people. So you basically want to solve your biggest problem first. The only caveat that I would say, the reason why I'm here doing this talk and the reason why, without being arrogant, my day is fucking sweet is because 9 times out of 10, I optimize for writing, because no skill will build you the most long-term leverage. So if you could defer making money online, learn how to write in 90 days, copywriting, all that stuff. Maybe do like 30 threads in 90 days or whatever, like long form tweets and stuff as well. But if you need money, solve that problem first, because having that weight over your mind about not having clients, like it breaks you down. So yeah.
Insanely helpful, bro. And just one follow up on that. When you were like looking back at your entire journey, especially in like the landscape that Twitter is now, Dakota's really, really great with like kind of coaching us through some of the stuff. But what do you think about like paying for engagement, or once your writing's at a base level of proficiency, just if you're having struggles just getting enough eyeballs on your content early on, and you believe that at scale that will eventually work itself out, but do you believe in a little bit of extra leverage if you can afford it in the beginning?
Yeah. I believe that money is a resource you can use to create more energy. And, you know, if someone in that business said, I paid for advertising on Facebook and I made money, you're not cheating, right? But for some reason on Twitter, you pay for retweets and you're a fraud. The thing is, so many people do it, right? All these people you're looking up to, like people like Sale Bloom, they've got networks of people sorting this shit out. And so like you have to decide if that's an advantage for you. However, the caveat here is that you cannot polish a turd. Right. So if you are, you can't out retweet shitty copy. And so, for example, I think I bought retweets from Dan Coe once, right? And sometimes he'd retweet it and I get like 10 likes and I'd be like, what is going on here? And the truth is, like, when I write something banging, it pops off regardless if who retweets it. And I think that's a really good signal where once you have the ability to write, you might invest in your growth. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, if I'm honest with you. Other things that you could probably invest in that might be a bit smarter in the short term, something that I did, and I think maybe Dakota does sometimes, a VA, right? Like I spent an hour a day doing engagement group shit. When I paid my VA $5 an hour to do it for me, my God, I ended up with so much more time to build a business. And, you know, like posting stuff in a group, clicking like, you are made for much, much more than that. There are other things you can buy back with time. And I think retweets are good if you are good at writing or there is a clear objective, i.e. you have an offer ready, you need to get it in front of people. If you're buying retweets just to grow faster, it's probably more of a vanity chase. I personally would have, I consider investing in mentorship. If I could give someone $500 for a call that's really good at the problem I'm having, like that'll probably make you grow much faster than you know, getting retweeted by Mind Taste 4000 or whatever their names are.
Thanks, bro. I really appreciate that, Kieran. And
worries,
your
mate.
course is spectacular, man. I'm just gonna be
Thank you so much, Gage.
genuine, man.
Well, we'll do the last question with Mr. Jack.
Where's he gone?
You're on mute, Jack. There you go.
Hi, sorry, lads. Hey, Kieran, thanks, mate. It's been awesome.
No worries, man.
I just
Where are you
wanted to
calling
ask,
from?
like sort of near Gatwick sort of area.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, probably a weird to hear a British accent, right?
It's always nice.
I just wanted to ask you how you sort of reconcile the difference between playing the long game and doing the same thing for a long enough time period in order to get good, and also, I know you said you pivoted quite a lot, and pivoting so that you find something that works. So obviously you might do something that over a long enough time frame you get good at it and it works, or you might pivot and find something that works quicker. Like, how have you sort of managed that balance?
Yeah, it's primarily the 90-day sprint, mate, because I feel like 3 months is enough time to see if there's signal, but it's also enough time to realize that maybe you need to adjust. I also, mate, I'll be honest with you, I'm a huge believer in if other people can do it, why can't I? And so that was the thing that got me through with the writing every time. I was like, look, if this guy can get 100,000 followers and he writes like an idiot, why can't I? And I do that all the time. I even do it now, like, talking about hitting 7 figures and stuff. If I said that 2 years ago, I'd be like, Jesus Christ. But now it's like, you know what? Like, it's all a game. There are things to learn. So I have a very long-term approach on everything. Everything I look at is try to look through the lens of at least like 3 to 10 years, and that really helps.
Okay, brilliant.
But if it's not working, I feel like I would review it 3 months and be like, well, why isn't this working? Like, so for example, let's say the 30-day sprint is followers, and you're like, okay, I'm going to write 30 threads, and that didn't go so well. You've got so much data to find out why it didn't go well, and then you could ask, what can I do next time? I would probably go find a writing coach, like someone like me, to go look at all my hooks and write them for me. And then you could use that as like the pivot, and it's really cool because you slowly bring advice with you. So it's about adjusting course, but at one point, man, you have to, like, if there's something going really wrong, I think you need to get a friend. I'm not saying I haven't got any friends. Friends are really useful. I have a couple of like, every time you find a straight talker online, a lot of people always like, yeah, they'll always like be really nice and stuff. When you find the guy that tells you off, that's the guy you want to hang around with. So for me, that's someone like George 10, Grammar Hippie. I hop on a call with him. I tell him my plans. He's like, "You're a fucking idiot," and I'm like, "Oh, thank God." They're the sort of people you want to have around you a bit, just to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Okay. Not sure if Mike Bolton's in the call, but I think it might be him, you know.
Yeah, good. Good luck with it, mate.
Cheers, Kieran. Thank you.
Mike's dope. He's coming to Panama in 2 weeks or something.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
How is it over there, mate?
It's good. Well, I'm ready to get the hell out, but I don't know, just bored. There's same old shit. I don't just kind of want to play my PlayStation 5 that I bought recently and play Spider-Man. So that's why I'm jonesing to get back.
is Panama monk mode, and then when you go home you can relax, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's smart.
And then back into monk mode after like a month or 2 months. So yeah.
Nice.
But all over the place. But dude, really appreciate you hopping on and dropping the sauce all over the place. There's literally sauce everywhere. It's just dripping in sauce.
just like my OnlyFans, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But are you still selling your course, or was it a limited time drop?
Yeah, no, I'm not selling anything at the moment. But I will. The product comes back out on the 1st of September. Okay. So if you guys haven't picked up Iron Bat writing, it's all right. You'll quite like it if you like writing. And yeah, just keep an eye out for it. Just join my email list, which is kierandrew.com. Yeah,
so I'm gonna drop your website in the community there, so people can subscribe to your newsletter. But that's interesting. So you're doing like, it's kind of like a cohort, but for a course.
Yeah, I can explain the business rationale if you want for a bounce. Yeah. So when I launched the product, I wanted inbuilt urgency and scarcity, and products don't have that. And so what I did was, it was a 5-day open close launch, but it's all about framing. And if I just said, oh, it's just not available anymore, it's like, well, why not? The reason why I do this is because in the copy I explain very clearly that I want to reward my early adopters. So there's frameworks, there's systems. If you buy this product now, you're going to get ahead of people. Secondly, what I learned from my first product is that a product begins the day people start to buy. And if it was still for sale and I was trying to improve it here and there, it'd be very confusing to keep track of. Actually, what happens is I invited my audience to invest. Again, in the copy, I'm like, look, you're here to build this with me. And it's been brilliant because I get feedback, so much feedback from people that I just wouldn't pick up on, right? They're like, oh, you said this in this lesson and this was wrong. So over the past month, I have been refining the product. And because there's no more people that can buy it, in the meantime, I have been every single week delivering bonus material. And in the PS of that bonus material is a request for a testimonial. Instead of being like, hey guys, would you give me some social proof? I'm giving more and then asking. So I think there's maybe like 60 testimonials now. I've got another month for that. And then in a week's time, they get an invite to affiliate. right? So the second launch round, my entire audience, my customers, they're there with me. Once that's launched again, so like someone told me, oh, you should just keep doing this. Let's go, money, money, money. I hate this shit. I hate push marketing. I really like pull marketing. I'm very much a fond of giving value and inviting to invest. So once it's launched this time, it's evergreen. So it's a 4-day launch, and my rationale now is that I will never ever offer discounts again. And then discounts are a terrible way to sell, and so I sell with value. And so what I did last time was you get a free webinar on how to build your creator business. This time I will probably do a free webinar on product launch strategy if you buy it within those 4 days. And then throughout the year, I will build micro products, which are about $200 each, and then use those products as bonuses to sell the core product. And that's me for the next 3 to 5 years, I think. I was like, completely changes in 3 months, but I think that's me dialed in. So
That's brilliant. I wouldn't have even thought of that. That's fucking smart, dude. Really, really
well, we'll
smart.
see how it goes, man.
Yeah. No, keep me updated. I'm gonna ask when you launch again. I'm gonna see what's going on with that, because that's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you.
Well, cool. So I'm gonna link Kieran's website and his email newsletter in the community here. So I definitely recommend subscribing. I'm subscribed. I get his tips every week, and they are fire.
Thank you, mate.
But also screenshot this, tag Kieran on Twitter, and just say how fucking banger this is. Just give him some love, because this was fire. Once
yes,
again,
please. It's always good. Always good.
yes.
Thank you, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
And I'm happy if anyone has any questions, you can drop me a DM, and I answer my DMs every Monday afternoon. So if there's anything I can help you with, let me know.
Hell yeah. Sweet. All right, ladies and gents. Well, that wraps up today's masterclass. I hope you guys enjoyed.